more phone calls coming up. He's Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk Live co-host. Also, his podcast, Unbuttoned, and a contributor to Football Night in America. Where is this dislike, discrediting, hatred, or whatever it might be with Russell Wilson coming from that now it's a topic, is he playing his way out of the Hall of Fame?
Well, yeah. I mean, first off, I don't think I had him in the Hall of Fame anyways. So I think that's still a debatable topic there a little bit. All right. NFL legend, right? One of the better quarterbacks of our era for sure. But Hall of Fame, I'm not really ready to say that about Russell Wilson. Now, the criticism, again, I think a lot of it has to do with his play, and I think a little bit has to do with his personality and how he's viewed, not only by the public, but how people view him, I think, in the football world, in locker rooms, stuff like that, right? We've seen a number of locker rooms that, yeah, Russell Wilson's a nice guy, but is he a leader? Is he one of the guys, right? Is he respected like one of the guys? I think that's been debatable at certain places. There was a lot of talk of that last year in Pittsburgh. Denver, you didn't hear anybody there sticking up going, man, he really got a raw deal there, right? You didn't really hear about it in Seattle either, and he kind of forced his way out of that situation. So I think between that, acting maybe like he's a Hall of Famer, and then playing like he's barely a starter in the NFL, that's probably where we are right now as far as the criticism around Russell Wilson.
It feels like Matthew Stafford is a bro, and he's never been a Pro Bowl quarterback, or one time never been an MVP.
Right.
But he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that feels like that alone is going to get him into the Hall of Fame.
Well, I think there's some different circumstances there where I'd go, Matthew Stafford, for me, for a while, was the only reason Detroit was ever in any conversations about being in the playoffs at all, right? He was almost his own worst enemy in the fact that he was so good. He made them 8-8, and they might have gotten the playoffs or didn't, but lost in the first round or whatever. And people go, oh, look, he couldn't get in the playoffs, or he choked in the playoffs. When it was like, no, they weren't really a playoff team. They got there because he's so amazing. So that's where I would stick up for him. He was the football team there. And then you saw, as soon as he got with a team that could support him at all, it was like, boom, I'm going to win the Super Bowl. And Russell Wilson's, I think, is a little different than that, where, hey, some good years, certainly, but we know the Legion of Boom and that defense and run game were the most important parts of that football team early on in his career.
Yeah, but I can look at this and say that Russ got with a team that was really good, and he went to 2 Super Bowls, whereas when he's not with a good team, he still took Pittsburgh to the playoffs.
Yeah, he still took Pittsburgh to the playoffs, but the passing offense and everything around him has been the question, right? And I don't think that's been the question around Matthew Stafford. We were never like, I don't know if the passing offense is going to work with Matthew Stafford. We've gotten to a point here where you've seen one of the greatest offensive minds in the history of football, and Sean Payton, go through a half a year and go, it ain't going to work. It's not going to work. I'm going to ask him to take off the guarantees of his contract next year. That's how much it's not going to work. I'm going to bench him for Jared Stidham. So I think with all of that, and then, yeah, last year there was some moments, but again, he's limited in what he can do, Dan, right? Because he can't run and scramble anymore. He's not very good playing within the pocket, and he doesn't really work at whole offense. He's never surgical, as I would say.
But he built up a resume, Chris. He built up a 10-year career, and whether you value Pro Bowls or not.
No, yeah. I hear you. I respect all of that. I do. He had a lot of awesome years. There's no doubt about that. And I'm not saying I'm right about the Hall of Fame thing. That's just my opinion. I'm sure there's other people that are smart in football that maybe differ in that. So I understand the resume and all that, but I also think within the resume, the team he had and all that, it was set up so perfectly for him to look awesome, right? And he obviously didn't like it there. He wanted to be more of a guy like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, where everything was around him. And we're seeing that the physical talents are not there of that, like those guys right there, and he can't do it.
Talking to Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk Live co-host, the show that precedes ours on Peacock. You can see him on Football Night in America. How long should we wait for Kyler Murray?
I think we've waited long enough. There's no longer to wait. It's like, hey, dude, you gotta make some plays. We gotta win some football games. We gotta win some of these tough post games here. Yeah, Kyler Murray is the guy that's, floating in that area of he's got some talent that makes you think he could be a top 10 quarterback or elite, but there's other issues in his game that make him look real average. And you saw the game last night. There's lots of moments there where, yeah, it is real average. And you expect him to make a few plays on the run that he didn't make last night in some of those throws. So, yeah, I'm a little disappointed in Kyler Murray. I expected more out of him by this time of his career. And yeah, he's getting to that point where if some results don't happen, they're going to be looking for changes out there in Arizona in the next year or two.
And Marvin Harrison was a sure thing.
Well, he was, yeah, to a lot. I knew he was really good. You're talking to one guy here that when I thought it was a little overhyped coming out, right? I mean, again, really good, and I know he can still be really good. He's on the right path. The problem is people tried to make him like the greatest superstar ever, and I was like, wait, I mean, there wasn't a ton of separation in college. I don't see slants where he went for 80 yards after. Meanwhile, those guys we saw at LSU, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., who were the guys I had at the top of the list that year, I was going, they're running by everybody. They're leaving everybody in the dust, right? So I think all of that has kind of played into this Marvin Harrison thing, let alone their offense isn't great as well. So that doesn't lend itself to great passing yards and stats either.
How often does this happen, what happened to Cam Newton with Tua? Because Tua's saying, anybody, I guess, can play quarterback and he like, how dare you criticize him? And I was surprised that Tua said that, since we know that Cam had a pretty storied career, but you didn't have that. But you're a great analyst. How often do you get, what do you know about the position, or how dare you critique me?
Yeah, that's always. I mean, I haven't got that from players and anything like that. I think most people in the NFL know I'm pretty connected and obsessed with the sport and study it like mad and know what I'm talking about a little bit. Now I get that from fans and I see that on my social media, like, oh, your career sucked. How could you talk about this guy? So I always hear that type of stuff. That comes with the job. That doesn't mean I'm not good at evaluating players and knowing the game and understanding it that way either. And I can talk it really good too. So yeah, there's all of that. And again, one of my themes of my year on my podcast and all of that a little bit is to challenge some of these teams and what they've done with these quarterback contracts. Hey, Tua's being paid like he's Lamar, like he's Josh Allen, like he's Patrick Mahomes. Sorry, team, I'm going to blame you. I want to see those results, and I'm going to blame that quarterback too. I am. I don't know where we've gotten to this mold that we're going to pay the quarterback 4 times more as much money than the best players on the football team, even when the quarterbacks are middle of the road in the NFL. And nobody in football was going to pay Tua $55 million a year. I mean, they literally negotiated against themselves. So now they want to wonder why they're in this spot. And when you make statements that I can't do half the things Josh Allen does when you're getting ready to play him, and you're being paid just like him, and okay, the rubber meets the road there, that doesn't make sense. And I feel like we have a little of that in the NFL right now, where there's 4 or 5 guys that deserve to be paid like they are. Everybody else, I want to go, it's a little crazy. And agents and GMs have fooled the rest of the world that the quarterbacks are so much worth more money than everybody else on the football team.
Should the Cowboys acknowledge Micah Parsons in a celebratory way prior to the game?
I mean, I'm old school. I don't give a damn if they do, right? But at the same time, it'd probably be the classy thing to do, to make a little acknowledgement for one of the better players there that they've had in recent history, who also, left in a little bit of a weird situation, right? I mean,
just a little bit. Just a
little bit,
yeah.
Right? And we took under the, below the belt shots at him through the whole process, and tried to change the rules of the CBA. And we don't want his agent to negotiate, because he might know what he's talking about in negotiations and contracts. We'd rather talk about it to the football player. So yeah, do I think that would be the classy thing to do? I would, but if they don't do it, I'm not going to sit there and drag the Cowboys. He's only been there a short period of time. This is not like it's Randy White or Ed Too Tall Jones.
Finish this sentence. Daniel Jones is
a lot better than people realize, and it's one of my favorite. Well, why? Because he's got all the physical tools and the mentality to be good at quarterback. the thing I always say, right, jokingly, I might get, and I've probably said it to you before. If you're around crap all the time, you start to smell like crap, and crap gets on you, and then all of a sudden you don't look so good. Saquon Barkley was a bust up with the New York Giants. They should have never picked him to number 2, and then he goes to a team like the Eagles, and we go, "Is he the best running back I've ever seen in my life?" So yeah, the support system wasn't correct for Daniel Jones, let alone just the climate around him. The New York fans being so critical, playing for a coach who didn't really draft him, right? And Brian Daboll, and I don't know if he was totally invested there. So now you're seeing you put a little offense around him, you give him a few answers, you protect him a little bit. Oh my gosh, Daniel Jones can make a lot happen, just like Sam Darnold, just like Baker Mayfield, just like Saquon Barkley. It's a team sport. You need some support. You're not everybody's Superman.
What's the most must-win game of the weekend?
Oh, all right. So that's a good one. I do look at the Broncos being 1-2 on Monday night, going, they better win that one against the Bengals, right? Who are not playing good football, who are miraculously 2-1, even though they've been outplayed in every game. I think the most must win is the Ravens Chiefs game. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I still think the Ravens are a really good football team. I mean, if Derrick Henry doesn't fumble against Buffalo, they probably win. If he doesn't fumble the other night, it's going to be a nail biter, right? Between the Detroit Lions. So I still look at them as one of the top teams in football. The Chiefs, on the other hand, I do not. I've been one all year that's kind of said this is not the year they're going to do it in the AFC West. And it's been worse than I expected. The receiver injuries have certainly been a big part of that. But yeah, the Chiefs are a team right now that I look at and I go, it's not close. I'm not like, ooh, I like this. If they get this straight, watch out. They're in trouble to me a little bit here.
We don't teach tackling anymore, it feels like, but we are
Yeah.
teaching punching the ball out.
Right. Right.
At any point, and I don't want to be a buzzkill, does the NFL legislate a violent act of trying to punch a ball out?
Probably not. I don't think so. I don't think there'll ever be enough there. And I think it just adds too much to the excitement of the football game. I think the NFL wants excitement. They want big plays. They want turnovers. They want points and all that. And that's a big part of it. And to your point, yeah, we don't practice tackling as much anymore because of all the rules and everything's just different to where you can't hit the same. But at the same point, the tackling is also falling off because I can tell you that defensive players, they're going, hey, when you get in there, the coaches are going, hold them up so Johnny can come by and knock the ball out. And that leads to bad tackling too. But no, I don't think that's going anywhere here anytime soon.
Paulie insists that I ask you this question about the Vikings and Sam Darnold because nobody loves Sam Darnold more than Paulie.
Right.
Will the Vikings regret moving on from Sam Darnold?
Well, they're definitely in a spot right now where you don't know where it's going to go, right? I think that's like with J.J. McCarthy, the fact that he didn't play his rookie year, here we are, year 2, it was a little shaky in the game and a half that he did play, right? And now we're going to wait another few weeks for his development, and you go, "Ooh, I don't know where this quarterback situation is going to go for the rest of the year." It might be a problem. They might really have to manage it. Yeah, from that standpoint, I think they're gonna regret it this year. But I think the long play, they will not regret it when it's all said and done. I still believe in J.J. McCarthy, and more than that, I just believe in Kevin O'Connell and his ability to groom these quarterbacks and make them pretty awesome on the field.
Yeah, I'm all in on that. I just didn't see that J.J. McCarthy. Oh my gosh, and
I hear you,
and I trust your judgment. As much, if not more so than anybody. I didn't see it at Michigan. He wasn't featured at Michigan.
No, you're right. That's a fair point. And that year coming out, I had him 5 out of those 6 great quarterbacks that all went in the first round, right? Because of some of the things you said, right? There was a part of you that goes, wait, I like that. He has to play NFL football where it's not just spread and easy throws, and he's playing in Michigan where it's play action and throw the ball down the field. But to your point, yeah, I didn't like that we might go a quarter without him even throwing the football. That's a little crazy. And the thing I think you're seeing too that he has to work on is he's only got one club in the bag. He only has the driver. He only has the fastball. We don't see any like flick of the wrist throws, any sidearm, any, laying it over the linebackers and touching it to the second level to a tight end. That's where he has to grow. To me, every throw he makes that's good is really just the fastball.
Harbaugh and what he's doing with Justin Herbert. I don't know if it's tangible that you see something that he's a different quarterback.
Yes.
And I think Jim builds in almost rails for Herbert that he's going to be successful. But I don't know exactly what Jim is doing, but it looks different.
Well, he's an ex-quarterback. He makes the quarterbacks feel like he's in the fight with them, right? Like, I'm out there playing with you. I'm supporting you. I know it's not easy. And I think that's always great for a quarterback because it's not easy. And not a lot of people can put themselves in their shoes that way. And he also, I think, is trying to change the culture there. And let's not forget, the Chargers chargering was a big thing. Them screwing up games, doing everything there. He's changed that aspect about the football team. And within that, he's got to change kind of the mindset of the quarterback who's leading the charge. I think there's two things that I look at. One, watch this Sunday. He gets mad at his teammates now. He yells a little bit. That's what I like to see. The second thing is he's getting outside the pocket and making plays out there. That was the only area he really lacked behind the great ones, Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen, Burrow, right? When the defense would win against those guys still made a play and got a 20-yard gain where you go, man, that was the perfect defense, the perfect pass rush, but they still made it happen, almost imposing their will that way. I don't think Herbert was like that, but you're seeing that this year, and he's playing as good as anybody in the NFL right now at quarterback.
Good appearance. Have a good weekend. Great to talk to you again, Chris. Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Thanks, buddy.
You.
See you.
Now,
See ya.
That's Chris Sims, Pro Football. He didn't even say anything. Usually he says, say hello to the knuckleheads here, the jerks over there.
Maybe he was locked in.
Yeah, maybe bring Chris back and see if he wants to say that.
Okay.
Yeah. Is Chris still there? Yeah, he's gone. Yeah, that was quick. Okay.
We don't need to be called. We get called jerks a lot.
I
It's
agree.
okay to skip that one time. I don't know. Just my thoughts.